Hi, I want to do a video on the vague concepts, and this is the third video, vague concepts number 3. And the words that will be the subject of this video will be random and spontaneous. And this one should be easier than, even quicker than the previous ones, because this one can be covered, both of these words can be covered probably in one argument, one pointing out, because they're both along the same line, spontaneous and random. Things happen spontaneously out of nowhere, thin air, a snap of the finger. Magic is essentially what happens. And obviously everything that's making up the universe and happening in the universe has already been made up. It's already happened. Things are made up of components. Things are, accumulate. They accumulate into one. They make compounds. Or complex molecules or molecules, these atoms, these things that create complex machines, complex these different things. Everything's made up of building blocks, and things don't just magically appear unless you think magically appear. This thing magically, spontaneously changed this, or changed color, or this thing, or that thing. Well, spontaneous is a weird word describing these kinds of things, and I'm attacking spontaneous first. As spontaneous is pretty much something happening out of nowhere, just like instantaneous. And I've already explained instantaneous and the concept of nothingness, instantaneousness. But the concept is pretty much things appearing out of nowhere, spontaneousness. But I think there's plenty of definitions or ways of describing this word, and spontaneous in the like the magical sense, things spontaneously appearing. What the thing is obviously things, it's more of a semantics thing. Obviously things obviously are changing and they happen. Obviously if you go by that, things do out of nowhere change. But like a deterministic universe, things aren't spontaneously changing. They're going according to a function created off a deterministic mechanism, which is controlling this reality that we're living in. Based off a cause and effect, things don't spontaneously happen. They can't happen based off of an effect of a cause. They're the cause and the effect of some previous cause, and the cause of some next effect. Obviously, spontaneous can be described by these mechanisms based on determinism. So yes, spontaneous is an easy description, and I want to go on to random next. Before I might come back and tackle a spontaneous again. So random is pretty much things happening out of nowhere, and determinism, obviously I said this would be easy. It can pretty much attack the whole idea of random. Cause and effect, things happening on a scrambling, things scrambling around, bouncing about on a chessboard, things in a closed system, on a closed environment. Obviously it doesn't really matter because outside forces, no matter how closed the environment, we're obviously in a closed environment. We're covered by this boundary, this space where we're obviously still interacting with things, even if something's not necessarily interacting back with us in a way like another sentient being interacting with us, or a ball bouncing. Depending on how, if a human being is by themselves and there's no other human beings, him bouncing the ball can hit something, cause it, and hit the head, hit them in the head, or any number of different outcomes. And this can obviously have a different effect on the outcome. So no matter what, no how many feel, even if there's no one. Random doesn't happen. Obviously this can be explained because random pretty much means it happens randomly, like, okay, well, I just chose this one randomly. It's almost like from a point of view kind of word. Or this happened randomly, or I choose that just happened randomly, describing a situation that's sort of spontaneous in a way. It's almost similar. It's almost a synonym of spontaneous. It just happens out of nowhere. A lottery ticket, randomly these numbers were picked out of the lottery, and the person who has these numbers wins. Well, obviously determinism implicates that's based on a cause and effect. All the ball, like the Powerball or whatever, would be a good example of the ball's rolling around and spinning the machine, and the ball finally comes out. Obviously, this is a good mechanism, like the Powerball, sort of like the chessboard that I'm explaining with. Obviously, spinning around and causing all these different mechanisms to push, and this chaos kind of mechanism based on even on outside forces, making it even more complicated, causing all these things to, all the balls to bounce against each other, and calling this kind of chaos mechanism, at least from our point of view. Recognizing things as bouncing around, and obviously from our conscious point of view, we can't make the distinction. These things keep on spinning around. They touch each other. They're obviously bouncing against each other, and then this mechanism causes these them to bounce against each other, and this causes them to bounce, and then obviously cause and effect, the chaos mechanism pushing them about, and obviously one comes out, but based on all the different mechanisms, everything happening outside of it and everything happening on the inside. But obviously it makes it more difficult because it's a mechanism that we can control, that we recognize, but it's also part of the bigger mechanism, that this whole mechanism of, obviously the person winning the lottery has an effect. Everything, it's affecting reality around us. and how everything ends up coming out. And obviously, it's a mechanism within that mechanism as a metaphor description as the power lottery and the balls mixing around. That's obviously creates a more complicated mechanism, which we can look at from our point of view as something from an outside point of view. From our point of view, it can be more complicated, and obviously there's different levels, at least from our perception, but it's all part of this big game that we're playing. So random doesn't work because obviously those balls were obviously pushing against each other. But random, from our point of view, from our point of view, all sorts of other words that are vague can obviously be used reasonably. But as a word, in general, it's obviously a vague concept, at least in describing the universe and everything happening on around us. And same thing with spontaneous, appearing out of nowhere, magic. Obviously, from our point of view, something could just change colors or change shape, or like a shape shifting, just spontaneously something can happen. But that doesn't necessarily explain away the confusion of the word when obviously creating when understanding that the word obviously is looking from like a point of view of some kind of a perceptual point of view, a recognition of something happening, not necessarily as a systematic point of view, looking at it from a universal or reality kind of perspective, an objective kind of perspective. So I think that explains it good enough. So random and spontaneous are obviously confusing words, but from our point of view, they can be mixed up and they can be understood as obviously explaining some kind of mechanism that's explaining that's within beyond our control, and at least from our perception. But obviously, random and spontaneous can be explained away in the context of a universe and things happening by a deterministic standard based off of cause and effect, and things leading one thing to the other, regardless of our perception. Obviously, like any other thing, the things happening on an atomic level, obviously we don't recognize it, but it doesn't mean it's not happening. Sort of like the deterministic universe, we're playing by a set of rules created by the first cause, and or living out the constant movement effect on for the rest of the universe, living up to the deterministic expectation, leading to a predetermined outcome. So I think that explains random and spontaneous. So I appreciate it and thank you. And until next time, bye.